Well, it's a great college football Saturday. I am Colin Bashnigal here, hosting Bash's College Football Show. Go ahead and check me out over on TikTok, as you know we're going to be having live reactions and stuff like that all day long throughout the college football season. We do it over there every single Saturday, and it's at least the most consistent thing that I have going on social media. So make sure you go out there and check it out. I have some locks for you. There are definitely some exclusive plays that I'm not going to give out, but I'm going to give you guys the walk that line segment that did go 10-8 last week. Not too bad, above water, head above water right now. So we're doing pretty all right. I'm trying to recall the record here. I can actually pull it up here. Um, So trying to remember. Okay, yeah, we're good. We're just trying to figure it out. We're doing this live, so live. This is gonna be a little sloppy, but I don't really care. That's right. Okay, so I got it, guys. 63-61. That is our current record. So we're hoping to improve on that a little bit more. We were 500 a couple weeks ago. After week one was setting us behind the eight ball all day long. We went 7-18 week one. And we could also probably update that record because I know we have some win totals that have hit. So I'm going to try to go look back at that one, that video there. 2025, but that might be preseason. Preseason top 25. Yeah. Where's that walked online? Dude. Ooh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on these. All right. Anyway, let's get straight to it. You guys have gotten enough of that fun stuff. All right, we're gonna start with the noon game. We got Oklahoma versus Ole Miss. The thing about Ole Miss that I noticed last week is in that second half, adjustments were made. Georgia was able to. They were able to kind of expose Ole Miss a little bit offensively. I'm gonna be completely honest. And I don't think this Ole Miss team is very good. I said it over there on TikTok that the difference between Ole Miss and Virginia is not very big. They're very similar teams with very similar ceilings, but limitations at the same time. So Ole Miss defense is not very good. I think John Mateer, if he's getting closer to 100%, is going to be able to exploit that. But I also think that Ole Miss is going to find a lot of problems with this Oklahoma defense. I am expecting for. Why is my dog barking? Give me a second. I had to see if there was somebody at the door or something like that. Okay. So back to where we were. Oklahoma, Ole Miss. I think Oklahoma's defense is going to be able to suffocate Ole Miss's offense that's completely overrated. It's not very good. Trinidad Chambliss is a D2 quarterback at the end of the day, right? And I'm just going to be completely blunt and honest and truthful. He has looked good in certain situations. That situation's not against Oklahoma's defense. Oklahoma wins and covers. You have a 3:30 game between Vanderbilt and Missouri. I mean, it's very obvious to me that Vanderbilt's going to be able to win this game. They are going to be able to gut it out when it comes to Vanderbilt when it comes to getting critical stops, critical third downs. Diego Pavia, you got to take care of the football today. That is going to be the biggest key for Vanderbilt. If they're able to limit the turnovers and kind of get Missouri's offense into uncomfortable situations, I think Vanderbilt is going to win this game. Should be a great game. I'm taking Vandy. Our final SEC game that I want to talk about in the primetime slot is going to be LSU. I actually want to kind of touch on too. LSU, Texas A&M. This is in Death Valley. It's a very hard place to play. Battle tested for sure on the road, though. Marcel Reed and company went and got a win in South Bend. I know South Bend, it's not nearly as intense up there at Notre Dame as it is in Death Valley, but Notre Dame's also probably a better football team than LSU. LSU, though, they're kind of in wounded animal mode, and we'll see kind of how they respond. I mean, this offense has looked terrible. They haven't been able to run the ball, but A&M's defense is nothing special. I expect for LSU to be able to have success on the offensive side of the ball, and I also feel like Texas A&M is going to get clipped at some point. I'm going to pick Texas A&M because I don't trust LSU, but I'm not going to be shocked if LSU ends up winning this game outright. And then finally, we have Alabama and South Carolina to talk about. Alabama, South Carolina is a huge game because you have a couple of things. Something needs to give. Number one, Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, 0-2 on the road in the SEC as a double-digit favorite, outright. They are going to be on upset alert a little bit today, and we're going to have to see how they can respond to the string of wins that they had just gotten. Number two, is South Carolina going to have a lot of fight, or are they kind of already in the ground right now, buried 6 feet deep? I don't know if they are, because I truly think that Shane Beamer has the ability to get the most out of his team in a tough situation, and I really think that this South Carolina team is going to keep it close. And I think the biggest key to that is they got to be able to run the ball. Rasul Faison has to have a good day. Lenore Sellers has to be smart with his decision making, but also using his legs in the run game too. And I think South Carolina is going to be able to run the ball. We got to watch out for this game. I'm going to pick Alabama to win, South Carolina to cover, but I think that South Carolina is live on the money line. Walk that line. Here we go. I'm going to just give you guys the locks. This is a very sloppy live stream, and I apologize for that. But if you follow me over on TikTok, you're going to be pretty entertained the whole day through. Walk that line. We're taking Indiana minus 25.5 versus UCLA. I think they're going to absolutely pulverize UCLA and just expose and put UCLA kind of in the place that they really belong. The 3 straight wins is very nice, but Indiana is going to be up and motivated for this one. Vanderbilt, minus 2.5 against Missouri. I am going to trust in Clark Lee. I'm going to trust in this team, especially at home with the magic of having game day in town. It's a spot where you want to pick Vanderbilt. Oregon, minus 31.5 versus Wisconsin. They should be able to absolutely kill Wisconsin. What they were able to do to Rutgers, a team with a lot more life than Wisconsin last week, was proof of that. This Wisconsin run defense is pretty good, but Oregon has the ability to spread you out, make you play sideline to sideline, and open up the run game that way. The other thing, too, is they're not going to sleepwalk through this game because of how close of a call that road trip to Madison was a year ago. I believe that they're going to be up and ready. How about this one? Rutgers and Purdue. I'm taking the over 58.5. You can miss me with any sort of like sloppiness talk, sleepy stuff. Neither of these defenses are very good, and both these offenses have been playing pretty efficient. You've seen Ryan Brown really look good on the Purdue side of things, and then you've had great balance and good wide receiver play, a good quarterback play for Ethan Kaliakmanis for Rutgers. I think both teams are going to be able to score a lot of points. Kansas State, I'm taking them plus 3.5 against Kansas. They're live on the money line. Until you show me a Sunflower Showdown where Kansas can conquer Kansas State, I'm always going to be on the side of Kansas State here. And I don't care if it looks like on paper Kansas is a better team. We've had a couple of years now where it seems like Kansas has the matchup and they haven't been able to get it done. I'm not picking them to get it done today. Utah State plus 3.5 in the Bronco Mendenhall revenge game at New Mexico. New Mexico is a really good story, but this Utah State team is gritty, they're tough, and they're going to play for Coach Mendenhall very hard in this road trip. I am taking Utah State plus 3.5. Miami minus 29.5 in the camo uniforms against Stanford. Huge win for Stanford last week and a big-time loss for Miami last week. I think Miami is set up to absolutely destroy Stanford here, so I'm taking the minus 29.5. Michigan, you can get a minus 13.5 against Michigan State. I didn't initially love the line, but it's moved down, and I will take Michigan anywhere south of 2 touchdowns. So if you can get it under 14, I think Michigan will win by between 14 to 24, and I very, very highly doubt that this game is close down the stretch. BYU and Iowa State, I'm taking the over 49.5. Look, I think this number has been driven down a little bit because of a couple of guys returning on the Iowa State defense, and Iowa State's defense is going to be better. Both of these teams are going to be able to score. I firmly believe that, and I think that you're going to see a game where both teams are going to be closely contested right there with one another. It's going to be low 30s, high 20s, and we're talking about in the 50s. You're giving me under 50. I'm going to take my risk with that. NC State and Pittsburgh, I'm taking the over 54.5. I really think that CJ Bailey and this NC State offense has a high capability of scoring, and I also think Pittsburgh has really found something on the offensive side of the ball in recent weeks. I think that both these teams' defenses have also been a little bit of a struggle point lately, so I am taking the over in that ball game. Southern Miss minus 13.5 against UL Monroe. UL Monroe has looked terrible the last couple of weeks, and Southern Miss is starting to hit their stride. They're trying to contend for the Sun Belt Championship, and the West is wide open. It is theirs for the taking. I am taking Southern Miss to cover and not mess around with disaster in UL Monroe. Cincinnati, I'm taking the team total over 35.5. This Cincinnati offense has been very efficient and very good. Good balance as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, Baylor, their defense has been terrible lately. I think that this Cincinnati team is going to be able to score. Quickly, running down some money line bets that I really like. Just some teams that are reasonable odds to go ahead and pick. So it's kind of like your what side of a pick'em that I'm going to be on. I'm on SMU to beat Wake Forest. I'm not buying into this Wake Forest stuff here. I think SMU built a lot of momentum off that win last week. Rutgers is going to beat Purdue on the road. I think that they're going to outscore Purdue. I've said it's going to be a high-scoring game. I trust Rutgers' offense a little bit more. Kansas State, I'm taking over Kansas. I just talked about that. The Sunflower Showdown, I'm picking Kansas State until they don't do it. I am picking Arkansas over Auburn. I just think that offensive firepower is truly there. I think Auburn's going to be able to score, but if they get in a little bit of a shootout with Arkansas, I don't think that they're going to be able to win that one. I'm taking Utah State plus money, so I'm taking the underdog against New Mexico. I really think that Bronco Mendenhall gets his revenge here. Illinois going on the road to beat Washington is what I believe there. This Illinois team has really looked better ever since that Indiana loss in blowout fashion, and I honestly think Washington's a little bit overvalued here. So I'm taking Illinois to make the tough road trip and come out with a W. Iowa State's going to beat BYU. They're actually favored to do so, but that line has been moving a good bit. I think with the big-time players that they get back on defense, specifically Big Citrus, Dominique Orange. That's going to help them a lot. BYU is due for a loss. It just feels like they've been flirting with a little bit of disaster for a couple of weeks, similar to last year when they ended up falling off in November. I think you see their first loss here. Vanderbilt, I'm taking to beat Missouri. Just all the magic about them getting game day in town and the hype around Vanderbilt right now. I think it's going to be too much to handle for Missouri. I'm taking Fresno State, the underdog, against San Diego State. Fresno State has really pared down the run game, and they look good doing it. They've also played some pretty complimentary football with their defense playing much better. Should be a really good game, though. I'm excited to watch it, but I'm taking Fresno State to win. Cincinnati, I have beating Baylor. They're only 4.5-point favorites at home, and Cincinnati is going to win this game. I don't know if they're going to cover. It's going to be pretty high scoring. I know Sawyer Robertson can really sling that rock, but in Nippert Stadium, that's going to be a tough ask for Baylor to go into Cincinnati and win. Colorado State, I'm taking over Wyoming, and here's the biggest reason why. A lot of times you see a team have a little bump up in quality after a coach gets fired, whether they want to play for his honor or they just kind of like feel a little bit of relief or there's just an attitude shift, whatever the case may be. I think Wyoming's not a very good football team. They should have more losses than they do. They should have lost to San Jose State 2 weeks ago, and they got very fortunate to get out there. And I think Colorado State has potential to be much better than they have been. Oklahoma minus 180. Versus Ole Miss, now it's like minus 200, so this might not be worth it, but I'm taking Oklahoma to beat Ole Miss. I already talked plenty about that game. Here's some long shot underdogs I want you guys to keep an eye on here. Northwestern against Nebraska. I'm not necessarily picking any of these games to happen, but I think there's some games to keep an eye on for a little bit of a shakeup. You have them at plus 235 on the money line. I think there's a decent chance that Northwestern gets 6-2. I mean, they've looked really good this year. Eastern Michigan, plus 330 against Ohio. The MAC is weird, man. That's all I got to say. The MAC is weird. Chris Creighton, back against the wall, really good as an underdog. Watch out for Eastern Michigan to possibly upset Ohio. Minnesota, plus 265 against Iowa. I do think Iowa's going to win this game, but Minnesota is going to keep it closer than what Vegas thinks at 8.5. And I think they might have a chance to win late. They were able to do it a couple of years ago in Kinnick Stadium when Cooper DeJean had that return called back, and I'm very curious to see. Sorry, I'm just got the chills a little bit there. Anyway, South Carolina. I already talked about it. 0-2 as a double-digit favorite in the SEC on the road is Kalen DeBoer. Plus 350. It's worth a sprinkle. It might happen. South Carolina has the talent to be able to pull it off if Alabama is a little bit sloppy. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It might happen. Wouldn't shock me none. Mississippi State over Texas. I think this one's an easy call. If Mississippi State's able to have a little bit of offensive success, that Texas offense is sputtering yet again. And they did last week against Kentucky. Very fortunate to get out of Kroger Field with a win, and now they have to play yet another road game in Wallace Wade Stadium. I think Mississippi State is very, very live in this game. Houston, plus 225 against Arizona State. I'm telling you, this is happening. Houston's a really good team. Jordan Tyson is out. They put everything into beating Texas Tech a week ago. I already talked about and cashed about the revenge spot that was. Here's Houston just lurking in the shadows. You gotta watch out for the Cougs in this spot. Let's roll. This one's happening. And then finally, this one's more of a long shot because of the status of Devin Dampier. Colorado, plus 440 against Utah on the road. Those are the plays that I like today. We had to walk that line in there. We previewed some games. This was a little bit of a sloppy stream, but I'm ready to go and enjoy some college football. Let's get straight into it. I'll see you throughout the day if you go over to TikTok.